bum, ba. Great track. Great fucking track. Hi, welcome. This is The Art of Rock. My mic is alive. I'm alive. It's Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning we are here. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners of where I am, which is Hollywood, California, and Los Angeles. Thank you, Tongva people. Art of Rock, and I mean that sincerely. Art of Rock, every Saturday, and obviously nothing's working because reasons. We're going to talk about writer's block. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of shit. This is brought to you by Angelspit's YouTube. Boom. I mean, Angelspit's Patreon. Oh, yeah, join us there. They're the URLs that we're going to be on. That's great. I'm really following the script this morning. Adam, it's good to see your face. Brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. It's El Doperino. Go join. $3 a month or free. Take your pick. There's going to be a lot more content going on there over the coming times. By the way, Wednesday night, we do a deep dive into the amazing synthesizers with Mr. Vulture Culture. I'm wearing a t-shirt. So please jump on that. It's great. Hey, if you're concerned about the United States and everything, join Indivisible. It's legal. It's constitutional. It's free. And it kind of is your duty because you're an American and you're supposed to keep this experiment going if we can keep it. So go do something and, you know, we're going to make it okay somehow. Non-stop music from the bleeding edge, MTV TV there. And by the way, on Monday night, 6 p.m. LA time, 9 p.m. New York time, I'm going to be streaming some fucking modular noise. If you want to get involved in MTV TV, send them your video. They will play it. And they've also got a Patreon going and it's amazing. Please keep them going. Razi, thank you. My God, thank you so much for being bloody here and co-hosting or hosting.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
It's great to be here and fucking bless your faces and everyone. This is a bunch of the people who will be joining us today. We're a bunch of cross-the-old musicians who have fucking seen it all. And what's really exciting is that there's so much more shit that we haven't seen yet. And one of those things we haven't seen yet is the amazing world of, what did you call it? This new technology, kafungal, like telling a computer what snare drum you want.
I mean, I don't think we've settled on the right word yet, but everybody's saying AI, 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 AI. That's the sound they make when they talk about this.
Tell me more. So we were talking about like making music, butter. Go.
I was just asking one of these AIs to give me more information before I opened my mouth about it, but guilty. This week, and let's say this past few months, maybe 6 months, I've got the vibe coding bug. Like, it's fair to say that I am excited about telling a virtual agent to go do stuff, especially the planning parts of it. The high level structures of doing a large project. I get them, I know how to build them, but they're very, very difficult for me personally, and maybe a lot of other people as not a good project manager, but one who knows about project management. It's hard for me to slide into, here's the long-term thing of a whole album project. Now I got to make a snare drum. Like, which level are we working at? And since I'm new to this, there are people who have been doing this for years, obviously, in this manner. It's all green fields, like, oh, the wonder and the magic of things happening. I've got it down to more telling a chat bot what my project is about and having it remember steps along the way. And I haven't done that with much songwriting yet, but I am doing it with examples of like tour planning or larger releases. But the one thing that really flipped another plateau switch for me is I was watching a producer called Tosh, I think is how he pronounces his name. And I'll drop a link. And he's also drunk the Kool-Aid about this. And what I watched him do was not create music by talking to a chat bot, but create an app, a tool to create loops to create the music that he wanted to create. And that's where I got it, because this, like I said, several months now that I've been making tools to do little tasks that I want to do. And it really philosophically and creatively made me think about, do we want to be a luthier, or do we want to play guitar, or do we want to be a guitar tech, or do we want to record guitars? And in the same way, like this full stack musician thing where a lot of us build small projects, record them, mix them, and release them, electronic projects, like we build stuff in the physical world. And in that same way, I'm watching musicians do some of the building of the tools and crafting their instruments that they're making the sounds with. And man, Carl, at the beginning of our when we first got on, you dropped the link, and Brett put the actual link to an article about Bandcamp announces ban on AI music. And there's a lot of room for what that means. And so I think what some of us maybe even sparked on was, where's that line that we're deciding every time we take a snare drum from a library versus go to a concert and ask the drummer if we can record his snare drum or something, or play a part. There's that line between building the instrument or recording the instrument or learning to play the instrument, and expertise and creativity. And I think there's a lot in there. I think if I wasn't so excited about tool building, I don't know if I'd have the same enthusiasm for the topic. But hopefully everybody else can sort of jump in. I've just laid a lot of random scattershot groundwork there without, claiming anything in particular. But let me come back to it after everybody else has a chance to talk. That's the groundwork there.
We're going to be here a while. Thank you. Brett, I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, very good. So, and AI, also known as the language models or large language models and things like that, are also being integrated into many DAWs. And, I recently saw a video, though I can't remember who it was. It was just one of those that kind of came across the feed of someone using the LLM or the AI within FL Studio to write a song. And what they were doing is chasing through or using it as a filter for all the sound libraries. So, you talk about picking out that snare. They were literally saying, I want a snare drum, and I want it to be like we'll call it like R&B snare or something like that, right? And what he was doing is he would get a loop, and out of that, he would then carve out the sound he wanted. And one of the things that was neat about it is, this is a process that's already familiar to a lot of us in terms of sampling and whatnot. But the other part of it is, which starts to speak back to the question of not only banning AI songs per se, or even where I think it starts to touch on is where is copyright. And at some point, I think where it's helpful is if you're still using these as the pieces to do synthesis upon, meaning a human is ultimately driving this forward. I think I think then it's a force multiplier of sorts versus something that is a creative way just to steal works.
Thank you very much. God, it's funny, when we started this morning, I just went, I don't want to fucking talk about this. I can hear guys on the note. But now it's like, oh shit, I've got a list of things I want to talk about that are really relevant to this. So, thanks for bringing it up. Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I think snare drum finder wouldn't be something I would that I would like, because I don't know, sometimes maybe there's some snare drum that the AI doesn't have words for or something like that. In general, I think I prefer synthesizing or having your go-to 5 snare drums that you then EQ slightly different or repitch and maybe put a compressor on. I thought about it, and I think what I probably could benefit from the most is something like an AI manager, but that also doesn't feel right. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Can I jump in? Okay. Firstly, your comment on an instrument player versus builder versus coder is fascinating because I think one of the things about electronic music is that you are constantly in the balance of being like the whole concept of a synthesizer is every time you program it, you are creating something new. Really interesting point. Really totally relevant, man. I love that. So and it's like, where is the line? Where is the joy? Well, the joy is about exploration, and the creation of music itself is exploration. And if in doubt, what did Wendy do? Wendy fucking helped Bob take the vocoder and make it better. And same with Emerson and Stevie Wonder and. So it is about invention, about pushing forward, and Bach fucking streamlined the piano and Benjamin Franklin built the glass harp. On it goes. And accordion builders push the way forward for synthesis, kind of. But so it all comes down to Weird Al, really. So it's really important that you do that. And okay, so going further in this, where do you draw the line? That's you. That's what it comes down to you. And as a listener, it's difficult because you don't know. But as a creator, you get to go, where do you draw a line? So I have recently acquired a modular analog thing called a Turing machine, which creates random music. And it is based on rather old technology. I'm talking 50s, 60s. And it basically spits out random notes. And if you like it, you can tell it, okay, keep playing that bit over again. It also spits out random pulses. So the notes could be going bump, 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 instead of bump, 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 da 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 da, random. So that is kind of a very archaic form of artificial intelligence, because Alan Turing was all about artificial intelligence, thinking machines. So there's a line. Another line is Buchla's source of uncertainty, which is a similar modular thingy that spits out random sounds, voltages that you can turn into music. And it's used everywhere. And when you see like some of the great modular explorers, a lot of what they are doing is based on this very archaic, and this thing's from the 60s, 70s, AI brains that can kind of think, but they can't really, but they kind of can, but the machines, the mechanical, but they kind of can. So where's the line? And it's interesting to use these tools because they teach you something. You might come up with a really cool idea, or it might be making some really nice background texture that you couldn't be fucked doing. Another really fun thing is this here, you can't see it, so this is what's called a friction mallet, and that's for the blaster beam. And I got one specifically so you can play it on a piano, which the blaster beam is piano wise. The thing cost me $30. But I found out, thank you AI, that I can make one with a stick and a super ball, because super balls are made of the same, those super bouncy balls that you can get for $1. Well, I could make one for $1.50. Really easy. It takes me like 10 minutes. And AI taught me that. Yeah, stick it in, rub the string, and it makes this weird whale sound. It's beautiful. So that's as far as me being a builder, being it giving me some really cool intel. Then you get to, I'm not even going to touch on AIs making music because I don't want to know about it, but I'm already doing it, so figure it out. AIs in mastering, I fucking hate, but I use them because I just updated to SoundForge 18 after 16 years of using SoundForge 10. So SoundForge 18 is full of all these really cool AI things. where, okay, I will AI master your track. So I have a problem with that because I want to master my fucking track, but the problem is I'm crap at mastering track. The AI is good at mastering track because it's been listening to mastered fucking tracks since for fucking ever. So, and I don't really, this isn't worth me paying someone X dollars to do it, because it's just a thing. Yeah, it's just this constant thing of where is the line? And, will Bandcamp go, oh, this is artificially mastered, so I'm not going to accept it. DistroKid has an AI mastering thing on it. Is Bandcamp going to say no to that? I don't fucking know. Where's the fucking line? A major decision is mastering. And if you're mastering a track, get a fucking human to do it because you want to pay the person to do it. You want to support the person to keep them going. You know how AOs are taken over? Don't fucking help them. Pay a dude or a dudette or they dude to fucking help you. So there's a line. And also remember, the core thing to learning and the human experience is to fuck around and find out. And this is taking the fucking around out of it. It's not AI or robot around and find out because you're not going to find out. You're not going to learn. But then again, where's the line? Because I'm guilty of this too. So I don't fucking know. That was just an excuse for me to yell on a Saturday morning, which I really need. Thanks, Razi. What do you think?
The line, Bandcamp's actual words on it are like wholly or in substantial part created by a generative music generator generating thing. So, it's kind of bullshit right there. I mean, you get to decide what substantial part it is as a musician. And man, I don't mean to side with anybody who completely just text prompts a song and it comes out and they put that up as if it was a song they wrote. But even Bandcamp's thing doesn't really come down on what that means. I mean, yes, clearly, if you just text prompt Suno or Udio, Sunio, Udo. Anyway, the generators, if you just do that, it's different than having some interaction during the process where you guide it along the way. It's different than actually playing the tracks. There is a difference. We know there's a difference. It's visceral. We feel like there's a difference. And we're all sort of a little bit scared, a little bit intrigued, about how easy it is. But, that line is where things are fascinating for everyone. And you can be judged. You're putting this out in public. If you're putting a 2-line prompt, make it sound like Sisters of Mercy. Donk. You're putting that out in the same market as the actual artists that were the Sisters of Mercy and still release music and play live today. Well, not releasing so much. You're also judged against musicians and you're judged against listeners' taste and the other things in their playlist. And there's that ethical part of it. But if you do that sort of drive-by dropping things, I don't think that it's a sustainable, interesting career. I don't think it's a sustainable, interesting pastime even. So I don't know where that leaves it. And I don't know how we worry about defining the line of fully produced 1-line prompts. And I'm using, I want to go back to what Alex was saying, a snare drum, or actually what Brett was saying before Alex, a 1-line, find a snare drum that I like. There's the gulf. Okay. But there's also, let's create a snare drum and do that interactively. And Alex, I think this might fit into what you were talking about, is like, I like to have my hands on the parameters. I like to be able to say, I use say metaphorically, by turning a knob that's snappy on an 808 or turning a knob that's decay on the 808 kick. I like to influence it. But we have, you got to admit, way more influence in a tool that you build that only knows how to make great snare drums, that you can say, more Bonham, less Ginger Baker, more ambient hugeness, Hugh Padgham, less Motown. you know, like specific things like that. I don't think it's quite the same, I agree, as playing an instrument, but I do think it's exciting and creative and fun and results in some stuff that you then put into a song and the usual stuff that we do as musicians. The other thing is, Alex, what you might find interesting in this other way of doing it is, I refer back to the Tosh video, which again, 4 hours, starting with no code, telling the computer what he wanted to make, ending up with a pretty nice loop generator with a library and stuff, an app that he can run. And that's not the point. The point was he was like, you know, bopping his head and grooving and like being really into, and some of those things, I had song ideas. Some of the things that he pushed a button and made, put in a text prompt, Liquid Exotica from the 50s on Mars. Not his prompt, but close to it. I heard him then hit the play button and I was like, yeah. I hear the minor third in that. There's a harmonic. A melody comes to mind, you know, like it was actually, I don't know what kind of inspiration exciting that is. Like it's a new thing that didn't exist. You're not just listening to somebody's song. You're listening to everybody's song, filtering it through some words, and then seeing if that sparks your idea. But there's a thing there. There's something there that obviously I'm intrigued by and a little bit excited about. But I think that we could all probably make more music or benefit some or get more excited or find inspirations or take shortcuts to creativity. It's a long way to get there, but that was a moment 3 days ago for me. Watching him build the tool, put in the prompt, and hearing 4 or 5 things that it came out with that made me think of a song that I could then go and write without his loop in it necessarily even, or maybe with it. But anyway, yeah, weird.
Thank you. Brett, bowl me over.
All right, so I got a couple of use cases here for you. One, I wanted a new drum sound. This is where, you know, I'm literally just fucking around. Let's find out. Let's see what we can generate, right? And I did throw a prompt into ChatGPT to make me a bass drum sound. After a couple of iterations of doing that, it did. I'm not going to say that it was great. It sounded very 808-ish. I could have easily done this in a VST. I could have easily pulled something off the Kurzweil. It was the whole spirit of let's try something new, some way of getting there, a novel approach to it. To that regard, that does go to answer, you know, where is the line? So I'm not asking, you know, I don't ever want to ask an AI to write me a Demon Hate song. You're just never going to get there. It's not possible. Even if you emulated it super fucking well, you're just never going to be the artist. And you know, and I've seen artist after artist change their sounds up and everything else to huge degrees, but there's something human about it that you latch back onto, and then that's how you know that's that artist. It's not necessarily what they're sounding like today or whatever. The AI doesn't do that well. I don't think it ever will because it doesn't think like humans do. What it does do for me very well is that same sort of thing that sampling before samplers and the whole issue of copyright violation and everybody being hyper fixated on, okay, they took, you know, a half second of this and did something unique with it. Let's sue them. I want my money. You know, what it does is give you more resources to get to both things that are questionable and things that are straight up legit that you can now use. An example is, you know, I mentioned at the beginning of Art of Rock being interested in dealing with the public domain. Part of how I found the things I was interested in grabbing out of the public domain was using LLMs. They've been trained. Here's the catalog. I'm targeting this. And then from there, I want this tiny thing. And then, okay, great. Now that I have this tiny thing comes the synthesis. I don't want to just leave it as a You know, here's somebody else's creativity entering in my world. I want to take that thing and now make it a thing that fits in the world I'm creating. It's that human element the whole step. They used to call us button pushers and samplers and everything else all the way along without understanding exactly what we were doing. And it's the same sort of thing now. The lines, I think, exist along the same lines that have always existed. Are you ripping somebody off? Are you stealing from someone? Then you're going to have a problem. Are you dumping 10,000 hours into something that might have used this as well? You're probably not going to have a problem. So that's where I'm at.
That's great. Thank you very much. Ivan, hit me.
I think Bandcamp is doing it is actually a reasonably okay thing for Bandcamp to say, you know, generated wholly or substantially by AI. That it could be more clear, it could be less clear, but it is attempting to really like what I think Bandcamp is shooting for is people just typing prompts, or more importantly, people just having a machine type prompts for them and poop out songs and upload them to Bandcamp because like we already know that has been done. Just go to Spotify. um so like I think this is an attempt to kind of battle that like Spotifyication of the use of AI, which that might be, actually a substantially valuable thing. At the same time, like AI in general as a creative tool is pretty high value. Like if I had a nickel every time I had a conversation with AI that went along the lines of what does a good chord progression, at this BPM in this key sound like? What is a good chord progression to choose? And then extend that to, well, let's throw together a chord progression and apply that to a beat and but at the same time, I'm asking ChatGPT these questions and then taking what ChatGPT is saying and converting it to actual music. So it's still got to go through me. I'm acting as the like creative filter on the situation instead of like apparently what Spotify has done or what has been done on Spotify. I'm not going to blame them, just for legal reasons. I'm not, like, please don't do. But anyways, there are songs out there that, it's just straight through, just the AI doing all the thinking. That's not really creativity at that point. That's just, letting an LLM use statistics to figure out what this song should sound like. And that's why it sounds boring. So there's plenty of like there's still plenty of room to go have a conversation with a large language model and figure out what that next snare drum that you want to use is going to sound like, and maybe even have it print that out, generate the part for you, and then you download it and go use it. um like I'm wondering if you could go to Suno, generate a complete song, which is still going to have problems with being boring, but then you grab that song, take it into Ableton, use the stem splitter to split it up, and then print those stems as MIDI and change out the instruments underneath of it, or not just change the instruments but also like change some of the like order and placement of the notes, like add some actual human creativity to the mess, make it less messy or make it less boring, or there's so many ors. um and I think that in the end Bandcamp would be okay with that because again, it's not in substantial part AI anymore once you've gotten there. Or is it? Like that might be a question for a lawyer. That might not. I don't know. It is a good question though. It is one worth asking and like even debating, like because this is in fact actually a debate. Where do we draw the AI line? Because, we like being human and doing human things. We also do like having AI and doing human things with AI. Are we okay with AI just doing things? Yes and no. I think this gets super complicated super fast. And like that dovetail nicely with the concept of vibe coding. Vibe coding is actually handy. It's not perfect. There are places where I don't want to see that happening. Medical software should never be vibe coded. Game over. I just don't trust the machines enough to trust them that much. Also, like any place where like actually like as soon as security and reliability become important, I expect humans and I expect a lot of testing. The AI can help out on the testing. I expect humans though to understand the algorithms being used at a deep level. And that's where vibe coding kind of gets squishy fast. The Also, speaking of vibe coding, you were talking about project managing your way through building the software. I would suggest you start out with a good mass description of the goal, and then just project manage your way through the goal and write the story points for each component of what you're building, and then use those story points to generate, to talk to the AI to generate that part of the story, and then just move your way through the various story points, and you will get to the end with a completed product.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Alex, what do you think?
Just to be sure and to remind everybody, those things have become better, but they still sometimes make stuff up. So especially when it comes to legally binding stuff, Brett probably knows this, but just look it up again because sometimes those machines make stuff up. Like I was trying to get something to work, something technical, and it straight up made up terminal commands regarding to that piece of software that don't exist. And it took me a while to figure that out, so be careful.
I think that explains why it is that I don't want to see this stuff getting used for medical or security stuff software.
Excellent, thank you. Razi.
That sort of touches on a bit of a, not a misconception, but a misapplication of the tech. And I'll be really brief with this, but the two things that we're talking about here right now are telling the computer to give me something creative, which there are no consequences for, nobody dies, and monitor somebody's heart and give them ephedrine or whatever if they'll die. But there's a lot of steps missing from that. And I know we're probably not really talking about truly vibe coding a defibrillator right now, but the loop is so closed on that kind of coding where, Alex, your thing that you realized later, the test has to be immediate. You test because it's making stuff up the whole time. That's all it's doing. That is the pleasure and brilliance of the musical side, is that it's just making shit up. Like it's looking at everything everybody's ever said and coming up with some statistically random stuff. And you don't have to worry about the correctness or invalidity because you listen to it right away if we're making an audio clip and you say, I don't like it, I don't like it. And that closed bit of a loop is where you sidestep the implications of, is it just making shit up? Like in the software side of it, you test it immediately. I'm not saying you don't need experts and quality control and humans to look at this stuff. I am saying that the risks when there are high stakes, are keeping that loop very tight and very close to look immediately if it fucked something up and test testable stuff, and totally non-testable stuff like making sounds, where the only test is, did it generate a noise that I could use or not use? It's like A/B. And I think that watching how these things are actually used in practice changes your attitude to that a little bit, or trying to use them. The other thing that I wanted to actually talk about, which is a little more focused, hopefully, the Bandcamp's stance on this thing, like, makes me wonder how much of it is social and brand and righteousness, which fits in really well with the zeitgeist right now, for sure, and also the liability and legal implications, because there is some kind of DMCA implications for what they do, since they host the stuff and takedowns matter.
What is DMCA?
So I'm wondering, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which allows copyright holders to fuck with people who are violating their copyright holders through the company that's hosting the material and presenting it. Takedown on YouTube is a common thing you've heard. Same thing, I believe Bandcamp is exposed to with the way that they operate. I want to look at that a little bit more, but I wonder, like, what the complex, why'd they bother coming out with this? Yeah, it looks cool. You get a win if you say, hey, no AI, but you also shield yourself from certain exposures to who owns that material and where the takedowns happen, and when all of us artists who had our material scanned to generate that thing decide we want a piece of it. Legally, copyright law exists probably that says that in some regards. Are they exposed, and does this shield them, or is it something a little bit less altruistic than just generative bad?
Excellent, thanks. I should also explain, we're now complying with NAUPs. So we're now NAUP compliant.
No assholes under policy.
No acronyms used, please. You know me too well. Wow, this is great. So firstly and foremost, let's just be clear. Bandcamp are a bunch of corporate cunts. They don't give a fuck about your morals. They don't give a shit about anything. They're just trying to make you feel good so they become looking like a good shareholder. Same with SoundCloud. Fuck those guys. Same with Pandora. You remember Pandora, the good guys? Fuck those guys especially. All of these industries are interested in making money, nothing else. They want to make money from you. They don't care about morals. They will all trade arms. In fact, if you push any of these places far back enough, you will see that the CEO is a cunt and it's taking as much as they possibly can. You will also see that someone somewhere in a major facility is investing their yield in arms. Every single fucking one of them since the beginning of time. The music industry are a bunch of angry cunts who hate musicians and want to fuck you. That's it. Bandcamp don't give a shit. Make that fucking clear. Secondly, I'm so passionate about that one. Adaption and adoption is core to music making. And this is great because, Brett, as you nailed it, we are having the sampling. If this was 20 years ago, this would be the sampling debate. In fact, it's the ongoing sampling debate. Now it's the AI, and it's totally relevant. Don't get me wrong. But it's just really interesting how we said, okay, so we sort of argued out this idea, and each of us have this idea on sampling, and this is okay and this is not okay. But now here's AI. And when you really boil it down, how fucking different is it? Like, come on. How fucking different is it if I'm going to use a machine to learn from fucking some guy playing drums or some chord progressions from the Carpenters, as opposed to sampling the Carpenters? I'm sure you have decided there is a difference. Isn't that funny? It's not about the difference. It's about the difference that you have decided. I can feel people's blood boiling right now. I'm saying nothing's right, nothing's wrong. It's a really interesting thing that you brought up about the defibrillator, which is an Angelspit track, and also about how AIs just make up shit. And that sort of got me nervous because I'm going through some legal things right now, and I am calling on AIs to help me out. Although they are calling in, they're giving, I got this example here from the Californian law, blah, 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 blah. But nevertheless, I am nervous. While we were talking and I was listening, because this is a great fucking conversation, because I thought, wow, so if I wrote death rock songs, and it's interesting how it's just making shit up. AIs are just oh, you mean composing? Because isn't that what composing is? I'm sorry, I digress. So while we were talking, I went, oh, well, okay, so if I wanted to write an goth death rock song, which is a genre I fucking hate, but I secretly like it. Don't tell anyone. If I come across saying that I hate it, I look cool or uncool, but edgy. But I actually like it. Fuck. I think Disintegration is one of the greatest albums ever written. One of my friends, actually my best friend's husband, plays guitar for fucking blah, 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 goth bands. Secretly, I'm jealous as fuck. I think the guy's a legend. Anyway, so I said, what are some goth chords? Oh, that's interesting, AI. Thank you for telling me what these goth chords are. And then I thought, what are some Angelspit chords? So I asked it. I've never used those chords in my fucking life. I've never used any. And they said, if you want to do, and do you notice how they don't just go, oh, blah? They go, blah, 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 Angelspit, blah, 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 text. They could just go text, but they don't. I've never used those fucking chords at all in my whole life. Never, not once. I was looking at it going, no, I've never fucking used that. Then I went, okay, so what's an Ice Planet 9000 song? This'll fucking try you out because Ice Planet 9000 is all weird diatonic shit. Nah. And it goes, oh, they're all minor chords. They're not. Ice Planet 9000 is overwhelmingly major stacked on major stacks. Totally fucking wrong. And so that's what's really fascinating here is like, at what point do you say, give me a snare drum? And does it really sound like a fucking piece of cardboard? I don't know. Could be wrong on that one. I went off course a little bit. So to sum it up, AI doesn't have a clue. It's just making shit up. You know that guitarist who you want to work with and they tell you that they're, oh my God, man, I'm so good and I know all those chords. That's AI. Secondly, Bandcamp can fuck off. Thirdly, I want to hear what Brett has to say about this shit. And by the way, shortly, we're going to have a conversation about, because Brett, you talked about using public domain. I want to swing back down to that shortly. But in the meanwhile, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, one thing that doesn't get touched on a lot, and could be maybe the start of, not to be conspiracy, whatever, but when you get a platform like Bandcamp saying we're going to cut out AI generated stuff, my initial question is, well, how do you know? How what is it about that file that you have that to you says it's AI generated? And where I'm going to go with this is, I spend a lot of time taking just a single sample and ripping it about 1,000 ways from Tuesday, which is something AI does very well and very quickly. But I actually just enjoy it. And so I'll just sit there and I'll spend an hour just on about that much of a song. Literally cutting and shaping the way that waveform fits with others. Well, when I hand you the final product and you're hearing only the mix, how do you know it's AI? Which says to me, if you now have a word, this is AI generated, or a statement, this is AI generated, then it gives you an easy way to sit there and say, nope, take this, deplatform this person, or deplatform that song. Why? It was AI generated. It's up to you now to prove it. So that's where I go in concern about
it. And there's another really interesting point here as well, but I'll shoot my mouth off about that after Rezi.
Yeah, mine's quick. I want to hear what you have to say because once again, Paul, you have crystallized my thoughts eloquently in the words of David Letterman. When I have a suspicion that some companies' motives might be ulterior. Carl, you have a way of distilling that down to something much more forceful and pithy, and I appreciate that. Let me leave it at that. I had some other things, but we've kind of gone far afield from where I was thinking.
And Carl's yelling. I want to, like, one of my things I want to do in life is to become as good as Will Ferrell when he yells. Like, you know, when he yells, it's really funny. Like, I watched, you know, I told you I watched Step Brothers again the other day, and it's like, fuck. When that guy starts yelling, and in Zoolander, I want to be Magatu. I invented the keyboard tie. It's just great. I'll get to the point. So, my question, because I'm a shit stirrer, is Bandcamp removing, and so many other platforms that are removing AIs, are they removing the right to create in any way you choose? Like, whoa,
Yeah.
let's take a step back and think about this. Like, I fucking hate AIs. I hate everything except Frank and pizza. I love Frank and pizza and watching Lord of the Rings constantly. Fuck you. But here's a question, is that some people can't make music, but they want to. They just don't understand, but they want to make music. So synthesizers and computers came along to help those people. Then samplers came along because they couldn't afford to get a funky drummer, so they sampled that guy. Yes, there are legalities and issues and stuff, but that person still got to make music. It's like why I hate the B-letter brand, although the B-letter brand is opening modular synthesizers to a massive audience. I fucking hate them, but hey, thank you for doing that. Dopefer does that too, by the way, and better, I think. But so my thing now is that, so you've got some kid in their basement who doesn't know anything about fucking music and goes, oh, I want to write a song that sounds like blah, 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 blah. They just wrote a song like blah, 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 blah. And although me as an old school stick in the mud bastard goes, fuck, that's not writing music. But I do not want to take away the creative joy in knowing that they, in some way, shape, or form, made music. And you can say, oh, they didn't make music. But that's what people said to me in the early 90s when I was using a fucking computer. That's not real music. Anyone, the day my fucking life changed was when one of the most incredible guitarists at university, this kid could shred. His nickname was Shred. This fucker could shred. Had teamed up with the guitarist lecturer, and the guitarist lecturer was brilliant guitarist. Massive respect for him. I fought with him constantly. I made his life hell constantly, but that motherfucker taught me more about music than anyone. Maybe not anyone, but he's up there. And they said, oh, we want to do a techno track with you just to show that anyone can make techno. And I said, well, why do you need me to do it if anyone can make it? And that's where I had this understanding of what their perception was, what my perception was, and none of it was fucking real in the first place. Is that as far as the old school was concerned, I wasn't making music because I got a bunch of samples and I wanted to sound like Frontline Assembly. That's not music. Well, now, 30 years later, Jesus Christ, 40 years later, shut up. I'm now saying the same fucking thing because the new generation have found their new generation of stuff. So look, I don't fucking like AI. I don't like it at all, but I use it all fucking day. And I do use it in my management, in my business management, and fucking helping me write a letter to someone so it's not as offensive, because you know me. But so am I cheating there? And it's such an interesting, relevant point. There's no yes, there's no no, there's just a bunch of opinions. But my thing comes down to, because I'm one of these super woke bitches who go, I don't like that thing. I don't agree with that thing. For example, most religions, but I will fight fucking hammer and tongue to give them the right to exercise that religion because it's their fucking fundamental human right. Sure, don't go hurting people. But you know what I mean? It's like when you start whittling away at all of these rights as a human being in using technology, and where is it going? Where do you stop? Where's the line? Again, where's the line? And I don't know. And how do I feel about some fucking corporate-driven courtroom full of old people who have got corporate interests making decisions for me? I don't feel good about that because I fucking hate them all. They're a bunch of corporate fucking cunts. So I don't know. Alex, what do you think?
To steal, man, your point, I think it's a different difference whether it's easier using a computer or just having maybe your cat walk over your keyboard, putting that into Suno, and out comes a somewhat listenable track. So I think there is a difference.
I totally agree. And my point isn't, is there a difference or not? My point is, there's no difference. Listen, Alex. How can you argue that some band got together and grabbed a whole bunch of different samples and stuck them together and released it, and that's not them writing music? And the problem you've got these days is that if you do that, you're like, that's a whole bunch of early hip hop taken out. That's a whole bunch of cyberpunk taken out. That's a whole bunch of fucking gangster rap taken out. And at that point, people were saying the same thing. It's not music. Like, dude, I hear you. I actually agree with you. Because like I said, I fucking hate AI. But do I hate it because I'm an old stick in the mud? And now because my brain has calcified so much, I have decided to say that's not music. But I think my higher point is it's no one's, I'm sort of struggling with the concept of, do you have the right to not allow people to put this online? Like, I'm talking about people's rights now. I'm talking about, I'm talking about is it the democracy of this, the ever-evolving democracy? I don't know. Of course, I don't feel good about it because anyone can say, write me a song like Angelspit, but from what I've just seen, it's going to sound nothing like Angelspit. I don't know. So please shoot your mouth off. You're welcome to shoot. Do you want to shoot your mouth off some more? You're welcome to.
Perhaps maybe what I'm interested in, if there will be people that start with Suno or some similar tool, make it generate some tracks, and then think, wow, I wish this guitar part was a bit different, but I can't find the words. Maybe I just learned playing guitar or something like that. That would be really interesting. And maybe our perception will also change what music is, because I think the best parallel to what's happening now with music is what happened to realistic art once photography was mainstream. Because from the moment on, you could make a perfect replication of what you saw. I think it changed paintings forever in a way. And maybe something similar will happen to music.
Yes. And your point of view is absolutely relevant. And I was just looking at Adam's thing that people can make all the AI slop that they want, but crap is crap, and it's crap, then we'll call it crap and stop wasting resources. I totally and absolutely agree. And I'll stand by what I said before, is that argument, although Adam, I totally agree with you, is exactly what people were saying about electronic music in the early 90s. Exactly. So I don't know, maybe this is about, I am challenging myself here to question my morals. I think that's maybe what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm going to shut up, Razi. You are the voice of reason, and I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice.
Yeah,
but you got to sing it. You got to sing it like you're in Styx. And if you don't, I'm muting you. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
There it is. Every single technology has this rift generationally. The recorded music, the samplers, the drum machines, the unions get crazy, the Luddites come out, they smash the looms, and we move on and do something else wonderful as a species that has artifacts and makes stuff. So that's not the worry. The worry is like, what does this do to me tonight and tomorrow and this week while I'm alive? And how does it affect my livelihood? And Alex, you just hit on something beautiful there that I've already forgotten because there's so many ideas churning in this. But I did want to tie this back just a little bit to some of the things that have been going on in the chat. And your cat mentioned if we're going to watermark the stuff and detect it directly that way, if the idea of it of slop being detectable. And I wanted to bring up the point of how we listen for this stuff, and also if we're familiar with the toupee fallacy, where toupees suck, they always look terrible, why would you get a rug? But it's just the bad ones that you're detecting. A really good toupee, you don't even see it, you don't think about it, you don't notice it. So it becomes the same kind of question of things that are worked in beautifully to a great piece of art, or generated entirely by a model, but they sound good to you, and the ones that don't sound good to you stick out as that's what defines AI music, stuff that sounds like that. But there is a sound that I think I'm defining as what I can recognize. And I don't know if you've ever seen how diffusion models generate their stuff, but it starts with noise and then just takes out all the crap that's not, that's random. Oh, this is, we make a pattern and it finds a pattern, but it does start with noise. And the music generated by models like that I do detect has this, everything came from the same pool of noise quality to it that you don't get. And it's not the timing, because it'll imitate loose drums and, a pocket on the bass. And it's not totally the audio spectrum because it's sometimes different, but there is this quality of uncanny cohesion and a fog of noise determinism or entropy maybe that suffuses the whole thing. And those are the ones that I clock as, oh, well, Bandcamp's going to shit can that. It's AI slop. But there's good ones too that we won't detect and are just cool sounding shit. A good snare drum, a good bass line, a good drum part. So yeah, I don't know.
And thank you. And who was to thought this entire conversation all started from, we can't find a fucking good snare? So the lesson, kids, is snares make musicians angry. They really do. Alex, what's your thoughts? And thanks, Rizzy. That was fucking great.
What I wanted to say maybe 5 minutes ago also, I think there's also a difference with sample-based music, because we forget that for every Fatboy Slim and every The Prodigy, there were more derivative and more boring uses of sampling, where it just felt lazy, felt uninspired, somehow it still got released. Yeah, so I think it really depends what you make of it, and it's hard to find the line as in some defined legal threshold, what's okay and what's not. But I think most people have like a gut feeling.
I agree. Thank you very much. Brett, what are your thoughts?
Couple thoughts. So one to Rezi, what you said there about how it kind of sounds like it's coming from a pool of noise. It reminds me of what they were saying, about like early tracking or quantum, basically where it came down to quantization versus humanization on this stuff, where the early versions of drum machines and whatnot were very, very robotic, very, 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 very mechanical in every single way. And it took and our part as the musicians using them often came down to, okay, we're going to purposefully offset these sounds so it sounds a little bit. And then of course they did that with an early AI to humanize it. Here's a randomizer. Here's, we're just going to shift things off of the quantize for you by a certain amount within a scope, right? And I think a similar thing is happening because you do have some sort of sound source, be it a signal on a synth, or a waveform or whatever, an algorithm that is going to be that thing that generates it. And I think maybe what you're hearing is that synthesis engine, kind of like the way a Roland would sounds like a Roland versus a Korg sounds like a Korg. Yes, you can get some bleed over, but they're when you're hearing that, when they're doing what they do extremely well, Moog is no exception. I think maybe there's some of that going on. The other thing that I wanted to say, we're kind of speaks on Carl's point, and is take the non-musician. And I've got a coworker, for example. He recently got married. He had the idea to write this poem, and in his head, he heard it as a country song. He is not a musician in any way, shape, or form. So he threw it into Suno and had Suno build him a country song that, worked in his wedding. And so part of my thinking is maybe it's our perspective in relation to music, our objection to it, as music lovers or music producers versus the actual creation of music itself. Am I going to tell him, hey, your song is crap because you generated it with a text prompt? Never in a million years, man. So, but he knew his audience, him, his wife, his close friends. Great, no harm. No, and you throw it up on Bandcamp. What do I care? Where you start talking about professionalism, you start talking about making money off of it, then there seems to be a different level of expectation, both as musician and audience. And then where I think it all kind of marries is humans can hear that human element. It doesn't really matter what we bring to the table in terms of the original sound or synthesis. Once the human starts putting the pieces together versus the machine, it ultimately sounds human. And I think that's a thing that the audience, a larger audience, will respond to better than your small group like Stephen.
So this is Stephen who got married. Yes. Okay, hold on a minute. Just give me a sec. Dear Stephen, the song you sang at your wedding was shit. I think you are a cunt. Fuck off, you bastard. Love, Brett. Send. Okay.
Good thing I didn't give you his last name.
Thanks, Brett. I'm such a stupid cunt. So, okay. I was thinking while we were talking about this, firstly, social media is predominantly AI generated slop now. Like it is predominantly, they'll get a headline and I don't even need to elaborate. Everybody fucking knows it. AI found out that outrageous sell better than sex. So your thing is now so outrageous. I'm so stressed out right now. I can't be around social media anymore. My head is ringing now because I'm so stressed out, like for weeks. I thought I had tinnitus, but as it turns out, I just have mega fucking hypertension inside my brain, zinging all fucking day. It's not my ears, zinging, driving me nuts. So my question is, therefore, is AI music going to be following the same thing and becoming more angry than sexy? Maybe that would be a fucking good thing. I don't know. Secondly, I have not heard a shitty demo in such a long time. Do you remember shitty demos? Like in the 90s, like up till about maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago? I used to, and it's really funny, I used to go, oh, shitty demo. But now it's like, all I want to do is hear a shitty demo. I want to hear it mixed bad. I want to hear a bad choice of snare and a bad synth and bad mastering on a tape. Instead, everything sounds like $1 million and it all sounds like it's counterfeited from the same fucking $1 million, because it is. And isn't it funny how that shitty demo was somebody fucking around to find out that 5 years, 10 years later, whatever, that person's music, if they keep at it, it's going to sound fucking great. because they have learnt. They have learned to get rid of those frequencies that shouldn't be there. They have learned how to use a compressor. They have learned how to do these things with their fingers, with their eyes, with their ears. They fucking learned instead of typing in a fucking prompt. I don't know. I just want to hear a shitty demo.
Just add to the prompt, recorded on a cheap 4-track.
Bandcamp 244, or is it a 442? I don't know. And yeah. Also, there will always be slop. And somebody brought this up before about how for every Fatboy Slim song or Prodigy song, there was 10,000 ones that sucked. And I remember when the whole world was caught up in grunge, and I fucking hated grunge, secretly loved grunge. But I remember that there were so many bands who were grunge, and they sucked. They really fucking sucked. It was stoner rock from people who didn't give a shit, and labels were signing people because they were fucking desperate. But they, it was done by a person. But that's the point is that, yes, AI slop sucks. It's everywhere. But AI slop in older generations was always there. Don't get me wrong. Get rid of it all. No, I don't want to say that because that's people's learning, But I always come back to auto-tuning versus singing. Do you remember not so long ago when people would go, they're not singing, that's auto-tune? It's amazing what producers can do these days. Cher was cheating. They're cheating. They're not singing. Or anyone can do that because it's the same fucking thing. And now almost everyone except Billie Eilish, who I think's a legend, maybe she does auto-tune. I don't fucking know. I sure as shit, when I started auto-tuning, I felt like I was selling out to the world. But it's like, hey man, I can't hit that fucking note, or I can't hit that note for long enough, or whatever. Don't know. And my last thing, it's not because I'm just so full of shit, is that when you look at an image, how many images do you see now that are AI created? Maybe more to the point is, how many do you see that are not AI created? Like when I'm on Bandcamp, is Bandcamp going to say no more AI generated covers from now on? As much as I would love that, I'd have a problem with that because so many people cannot create fucking art. And that's okay. So what the fuck are you supposed to do now? Put in a fucking MS Word stick painting? Like where is the fucking line? And the thing about it is you're going to tell it's AI generated art because it looks like AI fucking generated art. And come on, no one can paint that good because Rembrandt's dead. That's why with Ice Planet 9000, I have to paint everything because it looks like shit. And no one is going to say, render me a picture, a painting of the universe that looks like a 10-year-old dude or someone who just didn't give a shit in art class. I don't know. So yeah, there you go. Shut up, Carl. Alex, can you fucking help me here?
When you said shitty demos, I heard it to the tune of Pretty Woman from the musical Sweeney Todd. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. Yeah, I have something, but maybe I'll go back to it later when Resi is done.
Yes. Well, if it's another topic, we're actually, I want to hear what Brett has to talk about. So write it, make a note of it, and then we'll bounce back to it later. Okay, cool. Resi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, shitty demos. And one of my long-term clients is a particular songwriting contest. So I'm going to be a lot more charitable and generous and say there's a large variety of quality presentations in that contest that the stuff you're looking for still exists very, very, very much. There's no shortage, mainline, right into your veins of interesting takes on the how music is supposed to be created and presented. I haven't looked into it lately, and certainly wouldn't ever share any of it because ethically violation would be reprehensible, but there's some weird demo quality interpretations of music in that stuff that are, I mean, it's like Shag's level kind of interesting takes on musicality. Still exists. People are still doing that. The filters are still at work. The gatekeepers still, you know, ever even more than ever prevent us from hearing shitty demos, but it is still out there. And one of the things, Brett, that you were saying before that, talking about criticizing drum machines as robotic, you know, and that we're fighting against it with humanization, but no shit, every single sequencer comes with the quantization of the MPC. Like, that's a feel, that's a thing that came back around and is part of the vernacular and part of what we want. It's a desirable quality, whether you know, it's an impression that we have or it's really in there. And I think the same thing happens with emulating tape saturation and limits, emulating MP3 degradation and limitations and glitches. You know, that came back around, cassette. And I think the same thing will happen for this period of generative sound, if it's as recognizable as I suspect it is, where, you know, 20 years from now, 5 years from now, people will be like, yeah, it's that weird diffusion model sound that was a hallmark of 2027 chart music. And I don't know if that's because people like it or because there's a nostalgia for it or because it's a memory thing, but there will be, as I think it's an Eno truism, like we will want some of that negative aspect and limitations in our music, and we'll bring it back. And then Carl mentioning autotune, like that is the hallmark of modern rock and pop. We did multi-tracks, we did comped multi-takes, we did punch-ins, we did Verispeed one note and lay it back to tape. I mean, I don't know, maybe Freddie Mercury is an example, but there are the stories of master tapes getting so worn out because of the amount of punching and retracking and multi-tracking and generation loss to get stuff in tune and perfect. That's what autotune does. It's just that autotune was artless as fuck about it and didn't sound appealing to a lot of people, but it was so weird and so different. People embraced that glitch and it became another desirable sound to emulate the mistakes and the limitations of autotune. I was very much in the camp of that's not singing, it's autotune, but let's face it, that was how we created the sound of rock, is having a, well, pop anyway, for 20, 30 years of a perfectly in tune, upfront, cleaned up, punched, manipulated, edited, crafted vocal. And I think the limitation that we're hearing of autotune being shitty about it and people using it stupidly is what we're talking about. Again, that same worst case fallacy where we hear it. But the times when it's used transparently and artfully and craftily, we don't hear it. And it's just part of the song.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you just said. By the way, if you get a chance, you can, the comments, I'm really grateful for the comments that are coming in. Fortunately, I can read YouTube and Twitter. I know a bunny rabbit named Foot. Anyway, yeah, it's really great. I'm really grateful for this. This is great. It's hit a nerve. Hey, Alex, so did you want to jump in, or because if you do, I just want to say really quickly. So today, this is a really good conversation for so many reasons, and I think one of the things is that we're letting out a lot of energy, because I think everybody's got a lot of energy going on. It's been a pretty intense few weeks. And with everything that's going on, it's just good to sit around and go Magatu on shit. And that's what we're doing right now. And plus we're bringing up some really interesting things. And this is great because I came into this conversation going, fuck AI, fuck people who use AI. And now I've gone, actually, you know what? You know, I'm being more, I'm challenging my thought process, which is good. Alex, where's your brain at?
So this wasn't what I actually wanted to say previously, but I feel it fits really well. The problem I have is that I think it's not really the tool that has to be bad. I think it's just because some people decided that this is going to be the thing to accumulate wealth and get themselves an edge, and it's used in the most boring and soul-crushing way. But I think it's not the fault of the technology, it's the fault of people just seeing an opportunity to screw people over, and that's why it feels so ugly and bone-crushing. Because, like, I don't know, I think I was into AI before it was cool, at least a year or so. And I was so excited because it was so interesting. But now everything's so. And again, I think you can do pretty cool stuff with that technology. It's just that people try to use it to screw other people over, and that's the whole dark cloud hanging over society. I don't know.
Okay, I want to thank you because once again, you've got this. You just bring out nuggets, man. I fucking love it. Yeah, firstly, the thing you said about getting rich quick, yes, people absolutely do. That's always been the trap of the music industry. That's why we have producers, people who can't really make money, music, I should say, but they've got an opinion. And that, come on, they fucking do. That's why they have an engineer and a bunch of musicians. Um, and their job is to make money, is to take something that makes a bit of money, to turn it into something that makes a lot of money, blah, 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 in industry. Secondly, I want you to create a t-shirt, Alex. I want you to do this. And on that t-shirt, you're going to write, I was into AI before it was cool. And I think that is the best fucking t-shirt ever. And I please do that. Please do that. Because if you don't, I think somebody here should. I was into AI before it was cool.
But
Maybe people won't get that joke. Like, that's so funny and offensive. I fucking love it. Did you want to say anything else?
yeah, what I wanted to say originally was another question to the plenum. So there's the possibility to put adversarial noise into your music in order to make it impossible for those learning algorithms to learn from your music. So you hear one thing, but the computer will hear something completely different and learn something wrong from that. So do you think that's worthwhile because you need to have your GPU run for a day or so in order to make a track have like this anti-AI not shield, but it's like something to make it less easy for them to do what they do?
What an interesting question. Thank you, Brett. Did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, and Alex, this may take a little back and forth with you, but once upon a time, I was way more concerned about copyright theft and such like that. And so what I did is I would take image to something synthesizer, right? I forget exactly what the tool was, but what I would literally do is I would draw something and then I would scan it, and then I would take that picture and I would run it through a software that turned it into a unique sound. And I forget what the name of those synthesizers are, but it occurred to me that the reason we did that is we could actually reverse it. So when we made the sound, we would encode this into our tracks as a bit of chaos. Sometimes where these things would be welded in, like woven in, like breaks and things like that would like whatever. But we could always come back to the master, isolate that track, and turn it back into the original image and be like, okay, no, here's the source, here's the sound, and actually recreate the entire process. So it would say to me that something like that is doable. What it would look like now, I don't know. And how useful is it? I don't know.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, yeah. Does anybody else want to jump in at this point, or do we want to ironically shift over to using to something Brett brought up about public domains for samples, which is ironic. Brett? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so well, copyrights are a thing. So I started hunting down the public domain again, and it happened because I have a specific track that I've already put a bunch of time into. I have actually written an entire thing of lyrics for. I'm not happy with them. And then other things kind of came along that just kind of reshaped how I wanted to approach it. And so I wanted a more sci-fi sound added to it. It's a very trippy piece. It's actually done. It's actually done as a. It's actually a lot lighter than I would normally than things I would normally write. It's it's I forget what the damn genre now. Anyway, it's at like 170 beats a minute. It's moving pretty quick. Nonetheless, so this whole thing is designed to be psychedelic, and the idea kind of came back to me partly probably because of like Rob Zombie or something like that, of using like, well, White Zombie is in the public domain, the original movie, that is. And so I was like, well, it's not going to hurt anything at this stage to fuck around. So I literally went, I opened up ChatGPT and I gave it a set of criteria that I was after of public domain movies. Then I actually went to the public domain site and actually pulled those movies down, and then ripped them to shreds after I converted them into WAV. After that, of course, then I've done my thing beyond that, and the samples that I've pulled from it are then have further effects, further modifications, further synthesis done upon them, because I don't want to just leave them there. And that's just me, though. But part of that kind of came back to the whole thing of, all right, am I to bounce the question out there, am I likely to run into problems if I publish this? Is one of the questions that I have. Should I keep that part of it or keep that mix of it more on the private side and rip it back out and throw it up there? What's anyone else's experience grabbing out of the public domain for various sounds, including the sound of a time where the acting was different, and that lends a certain character?
Thank you. I'll be quick. Firstly, great thing about older movies is that the soundtracks are better. And no, I can't say that. The soundtracks are great because they had a certain sound. Because no, yeah, I definitely can't say that. They had a different sound. And because of the way they were recorded, the actual choice of notes, there was a lot more jazz influence. I actually think a lot of musical scores have been simplified and dumbified, for want of a better term, as time's gone by. Because when you listen to some of those old fucking, even the Black Hole, the Walt Disney Black Hole, and some of the old sci-fi, like what they're fucking doing in this crazy shit. Like, really, really wild stuff. Secondly, like you said, there's a beautiful difference in the way people acted and presented, and it's great. Third, Angelspit's only fucking copyright strike was when I used a movie that was in the public domain, and I got a strike for it. Also, Excalibur uses Wagner. I wasn't aware that Excalibur is basically it's really well edited to suit Wagner. And I was listening to it going, wow, who the fuck wrote this soundtrack? It's Wagner. Oh, part of it was Wagner. He also uses some Holst in there as well. But anyway, Angelspit's strike was because I used images from a movie. And some bastard fucking flagged me. I couldn't respond to that person, and I couldn't lodge a complaint with YouTube. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do a fucking thing. So yes, I think you're right. There's some Beethoven in there. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, so I really want to use public domain. I sampled a whole bunch of shit. But I never used it just because I don't really use samples, but I got to tell you, dude, there's some places in there where there are some beautiful orchestrated things going on. Have that just looping and backwards and pendulum loop on the K2000. Now you're talking dirty now. Oh, yeah, I might add a bit of sort of hot, like a notch filter. We're a really slow LFO on that thing, just moving backwards and forwards. Oh yeah, doesn't that sound good? Because you're everyone, right, Razi. You know, somebody told me that I looked like the keyboard player from Styx.
What?
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't think I. And they said I have the similar mannerisms. And I watched an interview. He didn't say cunt once. What the fuck?
Is he the bow tie and perm one with arm garters?
No. Grok, Lawrence Groko.
Oh. So like synthesizer player, not singer.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Guy
Gotcha.
who wears the suits and looks hot.
Right. I could see that more.
Yeah. But I don't have his mannerisms. All right, go ahead.
No. Brett, this is a quagmire. This is not as easy as I thought it might be. One thing is for sure, I'm 30 years into, fuck it, just sample it, whatever. Nobody's going to complain. But we're also in the era of what are we actually worrying about? Are we worrying about the ethical legality thing? Or are we worried about getting a strike and having it taken down and having to deal with that bullshit? And that's where it actually is gonna bite you anyway, because of the automated systems that are scanning for this stuff. And I think we're at 1925 for most copyright stuff right now, the time to have lapsed. But the distinction between the underlying work and the recording, has it been remastered? Has it been reissued? The underlying work is public domain. So somebody did a new reissue of it in 2023. That's going to get struck because they're the ones now doing the audio content ID, thumbprinting. It's really going to still be fucked up in so many ways with respect to getting triggered and causing strikes and complications that I don't think things are quite as clear as you might have outlined it and thought it was. And again, fuck it. We can just use the stuff. It's plunderphonics. It's the art of sampling. It's the distortion and the art of the remix. Like there's a amazing tradition here. But the other part is like, the last major project that I did was going back to a few masters and removing all of the non-cleared stuff and either substituting it with something that I composed or just taking it out entirely for a few songs that had gone to sync licensing because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want there to be a question. Does this contain samples? Yes, no. Not are they public domain, not are they cleared, not do you have the rights for them. It's does it contain derivative components? And if you just say no, it's a lot simpler. So it's a tough call because again, we're on are these fucking corporate bastards doing what Carl hates them to do and just, sitting on their piles of cash and being like, screw you, creative artists, we're the owners of this. And that's our whole point, is to be gatekeepers and control the cash flow and get in the way. But also maybe you're just distributing it among your fans and not selling it and nobody's going to notice. And there's only 12 copies in existence, like for a lot of stuff that I've done with resampled works. I don't know. It's tough because one of the, for me, most exciting moments of music was certainly getting a sampler and looping a thing that somebody else did, and that difference between how it sounded in the context of their work and how it sounded in the context. I didn't even change it. I just looped it. Some drums or maybe it was even Funky Drummer. And I had my own sample of that, like Clyde Stubblefield's In the Box. But that's exciting. And the interpretation and the inspiration that you get from distilling it and changing the context of this piece is legitimately part of the pleasure of what we do. And like I said, I'll always think of it that way. But the argument is, do you want to get a strike and do you want to get it fucking like Carl's having an experience with the one thing that he got fucked on was that it had to derivative to work. And the one thing that I've spent a lot of time with is going back to the masters that I could and taking out the offending works and giving it to, like these are interesting compromises. And again, just to put a finer point on it, is the underlying work may be in public domain, but there could be competing republications of that work where the sound recording is not cleared and they'll get the fingerprint on it and fuck you. So, whatever. Think about that.
Didn't we just have this conversation?
Every other week, why not? Right?
No, I'm all about it. I love it. I love it. And thank you. Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, okay, using copy public domain stuff that you're using the original copy of the original material can probably keep you mostly sort of out of trouble, kind of occasionally. There's certain bits of material out there though that are just so freaking dangerous to touch that they've become untouchable. I mean, like, look at the original Mac the Knife, and every subsequent recorder of that song thinks it belongs to them. And, therefore, like, if you tried to do anything with it, like the original work, you're gonna get just like dumped upon by everybody since then. And like that individual, will just call him Legion because he is many.
I love it. And he goes by many names. Did you want to add to that, or can I throw this to Alex?
Nah, I'm good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Maybe a quick side note. Copyright isn't the same in every country. So, for example, here in Germany, it's 100 years after the death of the composer. So that's also something to keep in mind.
Yes, very true. Thank you. Razi, your hand is still up. Did you want to add something to this? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Brett, I see you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of add a little bit of more context to it. The actual music of it is 100% on my side. These are little sound bites, sound clips, kind of like Puppy would do with like voices and whatnot, that I've literally brought in after the fact to kind of add in a little bit more of a different, just to kind of like salt, a little bit of spice. And and where it really comes down to, I guess if I had, if I'm going to take a strike or whatever, it may just be that, all right, I'm just not really worried about monetizing it at all. Here, have it. Might be fun that way too. Thanks.
This is so interesting. Thank you. Alex, let me know, what are you thinking? And then I'm going to shoot my mouth off.
I'm super, I probably said this already, but I'm super afraid of getting busted for copyright. But I sometimes feel I shouldn't be, because people get busted even if everything is theirs anyway. For example, for a couple of months ago, there was something with people getting their filter sweeps for synth demos flagged as tracks, even though it was just turning the cutoff knob and doing nothing else. So I don't know.
Again, yeah. Okay. Oh, we talked about all that shit. Yeah, to give it a rip, proceed with caution. What Alex said is actually true. I think it's a similar thing in Australia. Some places it's 50 years after the work was released. Sometimes it's 50 years after the director died, or the writer died. I think in the US it's 50 years old. I'm not totally sure on that. But it always has been such a murky area. But the trick about it is, I think if you've got a big sexy synth, like I was saying before, fuck that shit up. And I know you will. So I was also thinking, if I may, I'm gonna go on a spiel, so fucking buckle up. Oh, Ivan, do you wanna go in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that for like vocal snippets, speaking samples, a la Skinny Puppy. One of the things that I played with a while back, I haven't really revisited, is why not just use AI text to speech to control what it's gonna say, how it's gonna say it, and then run that through a bunch of effects so that it doesn't sound like crap.
Good idea. Also get Grim. Get Aaron, because Aaron does voices. Use Aaron. I know it's not as fun, it's not as cool, but I don't know, whatever, try it. And as far as like, because my thing is I listen to the soundtracks and I go, oh dude, I could do shit with that. Which partly ties into
And
the
there.
AI thing, which is like I honestly do ask myself what is the difference because I'm utilizing somebody else's work. But then I had this other thought about how Adam Bomb, I can just feel you seething in the comments. Is sampling is a more aggressive is not I think sampling is a more aggressive, tactile, hands-on approach to creating music because you have to find it, plunder it, and fuck with it. There's a certain discipline about it. There's a certain Brave New World exploration thing about it. It's kind of like breaking into something and stealing it. Whereas I think AI is more passive and it's bring it to me, don't really do any work. And it's like getting overnight fucking Amazon delivery to your door. There's not as much, and this is a generalization because I'm a bastard. There's not as much, there's not as much grit involved. Is this a comment about Gen X versus Gen whatever? I don't know. And I don't mean that facetiously or anything. I mean that from a, is it that the fuck around and find out, and that means getting it wrong, is the idea of wasting time, money, and resources because that's the artistic thing. You spend days and days and days on something and it doesn't work, and then another idea comes up in 30 seconds and it's amazing. Has so much of this been has so much of this been forgotten because AI and everything else is making so many things easier. Thank you for this, by the way. This is Razi. I'm going to throw this to you now. I'm going to put this in the things.
Yeah, just a quick summary of it is it's complicated. I mean, that's the easiest way of saying it. Like there's different laws for things after 78 and before when laws changed, and there's certainly the lifetime plus for certain kinds of works. It's like, it's not as cut and dried as there's one answer for all public works. And there's a lot of things that trigger things coming out of the public domain, obviously. And then there's also legal cases applied to specific works that change whether they are interpreted as public domain. So it's a lot. It's a new hobby if you really want to get into worrying about the legality. But it's also, man, every single one of these comments ends up with let it rip, just sample the shit, do something. The inspiration of a thing that sounds the way that it sounds, and then you put it into another context and it still sounds that way. That's what we're after.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Like it's.
And how many fucking times do you end up not even using the fucking sample
Yeah,
anyway?
just mute that shit anyway.
Thing.
But
yeah,
I got
exactly.
the song. Hey, yeah.
Yeah, or you just use the reverb in it, or you just throw the whole thing in the reverb, or whatever. It's interesting because there's a comment in there that says "stay human," and I totally agree with that. But my question is, humans are rapidly evolving in the electronic realm, and it is causing so many things. It's causing our morals to change. It's causing, dude, the dating world is at basically it's at a standstill because of scrolling and apps and bullshit. And it's, hey, dude, are we at Children of Men yet? I don't know. Nah. So, gee, I don't know. Razi, your hand's still up. Okay. So on other news, firstly, I did a jam Monday nights. Remember, I'm doing fucking live streams. And one of the reasons I'm doing these live streams is so that I can just fuck around and lose my brain for a minute and fuck around. Maybe you can find some enjoyment out of it. Secondly, I had a jam. Mike came over from Video Punk Mike, and on Wednesday night we just thought we'd stream it. And it was funny because I was watching this stream and I realized that it starts off really strong and then it just dies because me and Mike start talking. And I left the stream going. And we were having a Mike and Carl chat, which are the best fucking chats. And Mike is so he's using an MC707 and he masters that. The shit he can do on that thing is fucking wild. That's a Roland MC707. A really impressive piece of thing. No, it was a musical improv thing. A lot of fucking fun. And it's always a pleasure to talk to another electronic musician about Kaos and using electronic things. And while I was watching him, I was thinking, you know, I could do a thing here where I could create a drum loop using the modular that is using randomized start and end points on a loop to create that ding ding jack ding ding jack jack ding ding jack ding ding jack 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 sort of but yet is that AI? Because I am using a randomized thing from many years ago. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't care. I'm doing it. Fuck y'alls. No offense. So that happened. And it was just great to watch somebody else's process. Also Korg's brought out the Chaos Pad V. Brought it out this week, and we were shooting our mouths off about the fucking Chaos Pad only last week. And Korg's just brought out the new version of it, and it's like $650 or so. Really fantastic looking thing. And Mike talks about the holy grail of Chaos Pad, which is the Chaos Video Pad. And very few people have this beast, and if they have it, they will never sell it. By the way, Diana, when you're watching those live streams and I start winding it down, please raid to MTV TV because I usually can't get to the computer in time. So if you could do that, that'd be bloody great. Yeah, so I guess that the outline of it is just fuck around. Don't stop fucking around. And even if they are prompts, fuck around with it. And if you feel frustration, that's normal. That's good. Frustration, good. Because it's part of the creative fucking journey. Like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Fuck. Angry. Everything I do is shit. That's okay to feel that way. Does anybody else want to jump in? And I thank everybody so much for the yeah, that's right, Diana. We just fucking wandered off the screen.
Yeah, I was joking earlier that I do my Frank kitty spotting on those streams. That's like, you know, the music's cool and everything, but if Frank moves across the camera, that's really.
He's like a little shark. He just kind of like goes across. And he's been very quiet today, which is good. Yeah. So and thank you, and you know, tune into that. That'd be great. Talk a whole bunch of shit in the comments. Yes, please. And also Wednesday nights with Vulture Culture. We're always doing the good thing. Alex, what are you thinking right now in your brain?
I would have another topic, but we could also.
We got 15 minutes. Let's give it a try.
So, are channel strips worth it as investments? Channel strips. Things that have an preamp, EQ, equalizer on them, and does it make a difference if your preamp has a valve or a tube in it, or is it just something that makes you feel better? That would be something I would be interested in discussing, but
Razi, what are your thoughts on this?
I've never used a preset channel strip except on a hardware console where you don't have a choice, but I've never settled on, in the DAW world, of VSTs and such since Opcode, Studio Vision, I've never had a preset that loads either my roll your own chain of things that would constitute a channel strip, nor a commercial package that is a channel strip. And there's, you know, you could get an SSL channel or in your thing or a Neve channel, or even some of the consoles emulators that come, pre-wired with a sound. But I don't know if that's the real value of DAWs like that. It just never, for me, I guess how can I speak for anyone else? Obviously there's an argument for them because the commercial product exists. And we've talked about it before, but the SSL surface that goes with their channel seems like an interesting way of approaching it. And that goes to my, for every control function kind of preference, where you load an SSL VST on every channel just by default, and your SSL surface represents that with the compressor, the EQ, the knobs that indicate what their settings are. So you can glance at your surface for the channel. So even if it's hidden and you haven't opened the little window pop up to look at every of your 56 channels and sort of get a feel for where they are, you can quickly page through and do it. But what I'm getting at is on a console where the knobs are all there and you can look at the thing and say, oh yeah, the bass is up on channel 23. And then, scan, oh, my aux sends are up. That kind of makes sense to me. But doing it as a buried in the software somewhere, plug-in VST audio unit, channel strip product, it doesn't resonate because of that reason, because it's hidden and because I'm going to pick, I need a shelving EQ, drop it in. It's a quick process anyway. And yeah, the SSL sound was built by having that EQ and compressor on every channel, but your own personal sound is built from making your decisions per channel. And there's a lot of value in that. So I kind of go more toward the out of habit, never having gone to a channel strip solution.
Okay, thank you. That's really interesting. Ivan, I want to know what you think about this.
Yeah. No, over the last couple of weeks, I've put a bunch of time and effort into learning the SSL 360 channel strip, holder program that works with Ableton and works with any DAW. And basically you have channel strip components on each channel, and then a forwarder to forward your data over to the SSL 360. And from that one place, you've got instant access to like all your levels and your compressor, or you have the main compressor for the channel. You can actually put multiple strips onto one channel and have extra controls in map like third-party programs pretty nicely. So I'm trying to figure out if it's doing me a favor or if it's just making my life more complicated, and I'm not sure if I have a complete answer on that. I do have a collection of VST channel strips that I'm currently using, mostly because of that. And now this weirdly works with the one thing I wanted to bring up last week, which is is there much of a difference between, and this goes to channel strips and hardware as well, between using just use the VST versus actually grabbing like an analog compressor and putting it in a rack and using that as part of your process? Because I've heard tell that the compressor, physical like analog compressors will add extra harmonics that the VST might miss out on.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. Brett?
Yeah, I wish was it Jason from Spank the Nun was here. He actually does something kind of similar in regards to channel strips. So FL Studio has a thing called Patcher, and what it does is allow you to essentially treat a mixer channel like a channel strip. Where I have understood that to be most helpful is if you have a thing you always do and those instruments always require the same tools. then a channel strip kind of makes sense, just in terms of here's a time-saving measure. When I bring up this, everything I need that goes with this is right here. For me, I don't particularly use them because I enjoy more the per track sculpting, if you will. So yeah, it seems to me to be a thing of organization. If you're that kind of person, maybe yes. If you're not, maybe no.
Thank you. This is interesting. Ivan, your hand is still up. And Rezi, did you want to jump in?
Yeah,
as
I
well?
wanted to reframe just a little bit, Alex, what you mean specifically, like a product example or a chain example of channel strip, just because we're talking about so far about 2.5 different things in our answers, and there's some interesting texture to that. So do you have a reframe for it?
Yes, I do. There is this thing called Frontliner by a company called SPL, and it used to be something that I would look up in the catalog and dream about because it was so much out of my reach. And they brought out a new one, which is also prohibitively expensive. But since they brought out the new one, the old one has become almost in the area where I can think about it. And it's just a thing with preamp, EQ, and a compressor and a de-esser.
I need to ask, is this a hardware device that you'd patch, or is it a software emulation of a channel
It's a
strip?
hardware thing.
Okay, that definitely changes things, because as you were saying it, I was getting like, and if it was hardware, so
Yeah.
yeah, I see it.
The question is, am I being silly for wanting this thing?
No.
Okay.
Simple answer, no. That changes everything. You won't necessarily guarantee a different sound because it's hardware. That's not the real plus. It'll probably be a different sound because it's hardware, but whatever. It's there. It's on your desk. It's going to ask you to use it. It's going to beg you to put the voltages through it and make things saturate. And all of the emulations that we're talking about are to do channel color, like the Harrison mix bus approach or the SSL approach. There's a color and a sound. And although I don't patch stuff through my hardware channel strip stuff, be that compression and EQ and preamp, I have it here, and I've got probably 2 full channels of analog and tube channel strip available to me. I wish I used them more, but I love having them, because when I do, there's a knob and there's a glowing VU meter and there's a another knob and 6 more knobs and 12 more knobs. And I don't have a set go-to for it, but mic pre with a tube stage, compressor with an optical component and VU meters, and EQ with scratchy ass, like degraded knobs because they're old. That's my channel strip in the physical world, and it requires patching every single one of those. So it's not totally solutions package, but that resonates with me personally very strongly. So yeah, you might have some fun with that if it's gotten to be an affordable thing, and you know what you're going to run through it, like a mic or a bass or a guitar. Like there's your path. Totally cool. That's interesting.
Yeah,
and running your mix back through it on the way out.
It's mainly focused for vocals. But my
no
idea
rules, man. Sure, but
to use it for that, and also before sampling something in the sampler, just having something to tweak the EQ on while just working. And that would be
you'd have
such
fun with
way
it.
then.
Yeah, this would be fun. Totally changes my answer.
So my first piece of advice would be, if I may, if there is a software equivalent, use it. And if you find yourself using it a lot, then get the hardware. And my suggestion with the hardware is put it as in front of you as you possibly can, because to get a good one of these things is not cheap. Like, they're expensive. And I agree with what Ivan said about how they do sound different, but If you don't naturally use one, and if it's not naturally in your flow, don't do it. So if the hardware's there, same with a modular synth. I mean, start with software. And if you find it really interesting, go the route. Secondly, stick it in front of you. Thirdly, always fucking use the thing. Because, you know, like Rezi said, like a drum loop might just sound like a drum loop, but the minute you throw it through this thing and juice it up just a little bit, ideas start springing forth. And that's what you're after, is you're not really looking for something that's going to make your mix sound good. You're not. You're looking for something that's going to engage your mind as a composer creator. And if those fucking knobs and bullshit are doing it, and if the software doesn't do it, but the hardware does do it, it's why people buy very expensive synthesizers. Because the thing about it is, if you got this thing in front of your face, it becomes an obligation. And let's say you spent 500 euros on the thing, there's 500 euros worth of fucking obligation for you to use that fucking thing and to see if it can justify its rent. So I totally agree with Razi. I like, come on, it's us. We're a bunch of gear nerds. Fucking get it. And you never know, dude. The worst thing that could possibly happen is you use it a few times and it gives you some great mistakes. Is it going to make mistakes? Probably. Awesome. Get it.
Yeah, well said. And buying it secondhand, now that it's looking affordable or something like that, you can resell it for similar price and just chalk that up as the rental fee or whatever. This makes it an easier decision for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and that's such a good point too. And also, if you get it secondhand and it's working fine, it's a good indication that it'll probably be working fine in 10 years' time as well. That's the great thing about getting secondhand gear, is that, like Rezi said, if it's a $20 difference, dude, over 5 years, that was rent. I actually just sold a piece that I got for $100 and I sold it for a little more because that was the market value. That doesn't normally happen with me. But it's interesting that I never look on Reverb. But I have noticed that Kaos pads are going up. And various, like, I've got pieces of junk in here that I'm now trying to get rid of. And it's like, oh, wow, they're actually worth something now. Not much, but so fucking do it, Alex. Do it. God, we suck. We're such enablers. We kind of have to wrap it there. Does anybody else want to shoot their mouth off at one last minute before we fucking roll it up?
Yeah, secondhand gear, good stuff. And on the subject of managing a project with your favorite bot, I've got one reminding me what the process is for building rack ears for the reverb thing that I forgot to build rack ears for. And it's like, which measuring micrometer calipers do I get? Which metal fab place do I send it off to? What do I use for the, designing the K factor on the metal bend? Fun time. Physical world project, chatbot, music together. Kind of cool.
Thank you. And if I may have a last word, it's like I said before, it's been a really stressful time over the last few weeks. And, like I always say, join indivisibles. It's important to be fed facts. Might be important also to put the phone down for a while, give yourself a rest. I'm doing a really weird thing at the moment where I have I have a lot of areas that are full of junk and I'm cleaning them out. And I've got a filing cabinet full of stuff. And I actually pull everything out of one of the drawers. And these are all electronic stuff and power cables and all sorts of stuff. And I will put it on the table and I will throw things away. And then I will put them, and I vacuum the drawer out and then I stack everything back in. And the amount of shit I'm throwing away is incredible. I haven't owned an Emulator 3 in 10 years. And it's amazing. I've still got things for the Emulator 3. They're not worth anything. And most of these things were pulled out because they were repaired and broken, and I kept them. Why? I don't know. The amount of microphones I had in there that were not working, and I had wrote no fucking good over them, and I wrote that 10 years ago because, I'm going to fix them one day, and I don't. They're gone. So if the despair and the hopelessness is getting a bit much, find an area of your house with a cardboard box and go through it and throw some shit away. It's decluttering your mind. It's making you feel better. And also it's really important to, if you're not handling things, reach out to a friend and look through the chat here. Come on, we meet up every week. We've got some friendships going on here. You know, I think it would be okay to reach out to someone and say, hey dude, I'm not handling it. So yeah, so I offer you strength, I offer you love. The way through this is through art and perseverance and voting and marching and all that stuff that Martin Luther King talked about. By the way, it's his birthday on Monday. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so this has been The Art of Rock. Every bloody Saturday we're here. Join us on Angelspit's YouTube and fucking Twitch. This is made possible with Angelspit. So follow them, please. This is made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. Jump on. It can be free, or you can pay as little as $3 a month. It keeps me going, and I'm grateful. Remember, on Monday night, I'll be doing a live stream of just ambient music and fucking around, and it's always good fun. I'm actually recording them, and I will be releasing them in some way to my patrons at some point. New Ice Planet 9000 album, that's number 4, is in the pipeline. It will be kickstarting hopefully within a month. And I thank you all so much. Remember, Wednesday night, Alex from Vulture Culture does the best deep dive on synths and also software synths. And the comments are brilliant. So just fucking jump in there, enjoy it, have a drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and enjoy the people who are in the comments. It's fucking great. Great community. Rezi, mate, thank you. Thank you for being part of this.
I would thank you for giving us this forum, and I really appreciate it every week. It's good to be here.
Bloody awesomeness. And remember, as I said before, if it's all getting a bit much, join Indivisible. It is legal, it is constitutional, and it is peaceful. Join them. We are now going to raid on over to MTV TV. So if you're watching this on fucking YouTube, go on over, find yourself a new band you've never heard of and you love. Weirder the better. Let's do it. And I think that's all I normally talk about. And fuck yeah, let's raid. So we'll see you next week. And we're going to hang back here and chat. Thank you for actually liking us, Planet 9000. I appreciate that. I like it. Such a strange journey. Have they rated?
Rated
All
onto
right,
some AI art.
Fantastic.